Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome home again to my Cambridge project. Today we're pouring a slab in the basement. Even though there already is a slab down there, it was pretty busted up, and so we're improving matters down there. And we're also working up on the top, on the roof. We're cutting in for 2 new dormers at the 3rd floor level, and today we're going to be actually cutting through the roof as well as showing you how you frame the dormer structure. And a trip down to Georgia to visit the mill where they make all the dimensional lumber. Stick around, it's good to have you home again. We're receiving the concrete in a regular mixing truck, but we've also hired for about $500 a day a pumping truck. And the pumping truck really is worth it, because otherwise you'd spend more than that just in labor trying to get the concrete material to where it's going. Before any of the concrete starts coming through the pumper, they add a mixture of about a tablespoon of bentonite, a type of clay, mixed with water, which creates this slimy liquid. And as that goes through all the hoses, it'll make the concrete flow through there very freely. And this will be a job that will be going on all day long. Now, I'm standing in the area of the basement where all of the plumbing pipes that were laid last week come together, and you can see the gravel that was put into the trenches right under our moisture barrier. And of course, all this cast iron piping was laid to take the waste pipes from the new bathroom locations as well as the kitchen, and everything leads back out here to the street. But right now, let's hook up over here with Mike Walker, who's in charge of the crew that's putting the concrete down. Hey, Mike, you're in the area which is going to be my woodworking shop. And so all of these PVC pipes that stem through are for the different tool stations where we'll have a sawdust collection system. But let me ask you about some of the work that's already been done here. Like around every one of these structural piers, what is this material that you've wrapped around?
This is an expansion material, and what we're doing is concrete expands and contracts with the temperature of the, and this will give
it's coming up against all these piers, this will prevent some of the cracking?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And
don't you need to put in wire reinforcing when you're adding a slab on top of a slab like this?
Not really, because this is very strong. You get a subfloor here already. That'll take all the stress. It's just top it to make it level.
Yeah. And also, what's the mix? What's the PSI of the mix?
We have a 3,000 pound PSI, and we have 2% Daracet that add to the setting time.
Okay. Now this is an all-day job for you guys.
Yes, it
not
is.
just from the point of view of spreading it, but letting it
set, and then we come back and we have to trowel it out a couple of times for you.
All right. Well, we'll just watch for a bit, and then we'll come back later in the day, see how the power trowels move. Well, that basement's going to be terrific, and we'll put in a stairs that'll go directly into the kitchen. And then, of course, the rest of the house, you use the original staircase here, which goes up to the 2nd and to the 3rd. And the 3rd is where the action is today. All right, this is an exciting spot. We've already cut out one of the holes over here. Hey, Riley.
Hey, Bob.
Looking good. We've already cut out one of the holes of 2 that we're making to create new dormers that'll match the one at the that was originally here at the other end of the house. And we're going to be talking lumber today. We got to break for some messages. When we come back, we're going to be in Sterling, Georgia, visiting a sawmill where they make all the new dimensional lumber. So stay with me. We're visiting here at the Georgia Pacific Softwood Lumber Mill, and Randy Bononi will be our guide. You know, we're looking at probably the biggest pile of timber, you'd call it, because it hasn't been turned into lumber yet, that I've ever seen. How many cords of wood are there?
Well, Bob, you're looking at roughly 2,000 cords of southern yellow pine timber.
And when I think of a cord, I think of it in terms of firewood and its dimensional measurement, 4 by 4 by 8 feet. This is different, right?
Right. Because we don't have the ability to measure it that way, we buy it by weight, roughly 5,600 pounds per cord. And what you're looking at, like we said, was 2,000 cords, enough to keep the mill operating for about a week.
For about a week?
Yes, sir.
Now, is this grown like on tree farms?
Yes, sir, what we call plantation timber. There's very little virgin timber left in this part of the country.
So it's a renewable commodity?
Yes, sir. It's planted and reharvested every 25 to 30 years.
So it takes 25, 30 years to grow these lengths, which are maybe 40 feet?
Yes, sir, 40 feet or longer, and probably anywhere from 8 to 10 inches in diameter.
Fabulous. Now what's the first step in turning it into dimensional lumber?
Taking it from the log deck here to the sawmill where we go through the debarker.
The debarker.
Correct. Before the debarker, Bob, the logs have to be cut to length. This is a decision that's made by a human operator.
Yeah.
To try to minimize the amount of waste here.
So you've got maybe 40-foot logs and you're trying to get 16-foot lengths or 12-foot lengths and the like.
Exactly, to maximize the use of that 40-foot log.
Yeah. That saw blade looks to be, what's the diameter of that blade?
That's a 72-inch in diameter blade, Bob.
Amazing. Now, Randy, explain to us how the debarker works.
Okay, Bob, there's 3 steel cambios that are cylinder in shape that literally peel the bark off the log. There's 5 carbide blades that grab the log and rotate it as the cambios rotate and peel the bark off.
Now what do you do with all the bark?
Now it goes on to the pulp mills for fuel.
Is any of it used in landscaping?
Yes, some plants send their bark on to be used as mulch. Yes, it is.
Okay, then what's the next step?
After coming from the debarker, being sorted and going through the metal detector, then it's on to the actual sawmill.
Now, why does it have to go through a metal detector?
Well, in this area there's a lot of hunting, Bob, and hunters put up deer stands and may put nails in a tree, or even bullets or shotgun pellets.
Yeah. And that, of course, would ruin your blade.
Exactly.
Now, what is the lady doing in the control booth up here?
She's actually sorting the logs by size and length.
Okay. So this is the first place where they cut logs, right?
Where you've got blades going. Exactly.
This is where the logs enter the mill. Can't hear you. Let's go up in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just too noisy to talk out there. Now this is the first place where the log actually encounters a blade, but what do you call these red turning things there?
Okay, those are the feeders, Bob. The log is coming through the optimizer where the computer is determining what's going to get cut out of the log. The feeder is then sending it into the chip and saw.
So this whole assembly here is called a chip and saw.
Correct.
Because it's chipping away at the sides of the log and then it's also sawing it.
Right, it's going to saw 2 sideboards off of the log and it's going to leave you with what we call a cant.
A cant.
Yes.
Which essentially is a squared off log.
A slab of lumber, exactly.
And where does it go to next?
From there, it goes through the gang saws.
But who determines what you're going to get out of this can?
The computer does. It's all determined by the computer. It makes several calculations so that it can maximize what comes out of every individual log based on yield and on possibly market conditions.
How do market conditions affect what you're deciding to cut here now?
Well, the computer helps us to determine what to cut. Market conditions tell us what the consumer is needing at this time. So therefore, we program in what market conditions are.
Yeah.
The computer will take that into consideration and help us produce what will bring in the optimum amount of money for this particular sawmill.
Okay, so the computer is actually controlling this gang saw.
Exactly.
How does the gang saw work? How many blades do you have in there?
What happens is you have your 4-inch or 6-inch or 8-inch cant that are fed into the gang saw.
Right.
It's a series of circular blades that then take that cant and slice it into 2x4s. If it's a 4-inch cant, 2x6s, 6-inch, so on and so forth.
And here you go. You're getting raw stud lumber coming out the other end.
Exactly. You have a slab goes in one side and a 2x4 comes out the other.
Now, what's happening here? Is it a sorting operation that goes on once it comes out of the gang saw?
Yeah. It goes across the change where it goes into the sorter to be sorted by dimension and length. And from there, it goes on to the dry kilns.
Okay. So once it's all been rough cut, you stack it and space it like this so that you can dry it, right?
Right. It comes from the sorter, Bob, and this is what we refer to as our rough green lumber, and it's ready for drying. It goes into the dry kiln where it stays at an even temperature of 350 degrees for about 18 hours.
Wow.
When it comes out, we refer to it as our rough dry inventory, and then it's stacked and set aside for about 2 weeks before going on to the planer mill.
And that, of course, is the secret of good construction lumber is to keep it nice and dry. What's the percentage when it leaves the operation here?
We dry it down to 19% or less. Your moisture content can be your single biggest problem in lumber.
Yeah. Now, I've also heard that you have a terrific safety record here at this plant.
Exactly. This plant is better than 5 times the national average. They received the VIP's award last year, and this is all recognizable in the fact that you have to wear the colored vest,
Yeah.
the goggles, the hard hat, and the special shoes.
Let's go take a look at that planer operation.
Okay.
All right, Randy, once it comes out of the kiln, what happens next?
After it comes out of the kiln, it's what we call rough dry lumber, Bob. It goes from the kiln to the planer, where it goes across the chains as it's being sprayed by a light mist of water to control the dust.
Okay.
From there, it's fed into the actual planer and surfaced on 4 sides.
So
Thus the term S4S lumber.
S4S. There's 4 knives working at it at once?
Actually, there's 4 heads with knives on each individual head, surfacing the lumber on all 4 sides at one time.
Okay. And then what's happening over here at this station where these 2 fellows are working?
Okay, the lumber is now coming out of the planer and going across what we call the grading table, where each grader is given just a few seconds to look at each individual piece. Now you have 2 graders there, so they're looking at every other board.
So these men are really the quality control of the operation.
Exactly. They can make or break a sawmill.
And what are the different grades that they're dealing with?
These particular graders are dealing with 5 different grades today. Dense select structural being the highest grade, or truss lumber.
Yeah.
Number 1 common, and number 2 common being your framing lumber or lumber that goes on to treaters.
Yeah.
And number 3 common and utility, what we call industrial, that goes on to pallet manufacturers and crate manufacturers and so forth.
Okay. And then all of this sorting is done automatically.
Yeah, after it leaves the grading table,
Yeah.
the scanner reads the grader's mark, and it puts the appropriate stamp on each individual board, and then it goes across the timing chains where it's dropped in the individual bins by dimension and by grade. From there it's dropped and goes to the bander, and it's banned in the actual finished packages and on to market.
Ready to go on to market.
Right.
Randy, it's a pretty impressive operation, very streamlined and clean. Now, how much output do you have in board feet, let's say?
Bob, this particular mill, about 1.6 million board feet a week. As a company with 27 mills, about 45 million board feet a week.
Per week?
Yes, sir. Or roughly enough to build the city of Charleston every week.
Every week?
Every week.
That's pretty astonishing. Thanks for the tour.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. All right. Well, from the sound of it, Ryley, you got rid of all the nails that might have been in the way there.
Yeah, we sure did, yeah.
Yeah, good. So we're making the second opening here, and as I was saying earlier in the show, our objective is to create another dormer at this 3rd floor level, just like what you see behind me over here. This is an unusual setup, because if you look below there, you'll see there's a regular shed dormer on the 2nd floor with a very nice kind of sprung shed roof to it. And as you go up to this level, they added a little hip-roofed dormer with 3 windows. And it's a charming detail, and we're going to recreate the exact same detail over here. In fact, Ryley, we could let the fellows from Fort Hill get the rest of this opening headed off, and we could get started framing this one over here.
Yeah, there's plenty to do here.
All right, come on.
Okay.
Let's get the pieces. All right, we've pre-cut and pre-fabricated some of the pieces for this dormer. And these triangles are what we call the cheeks. You ready to put this one up?
Sure are.
We've got our marks exactly where it goes.
It goes to you a little bit.
Yep, right there, I think. I got a mark right there.
Okay.
And so we'll just shoot it into place. All right, now we'll do the same on this side.
Okay. See, I've got a mark down here. Right there.
Yep. Let me get out of your way. Okay. And ready?
Yeah.
This piece connects the two. There you go.
Okay.
All right, now this piece goes on the face.
Okay, my corner looks good.
Yep, this one does too. And these are called the sole plates?
Right, sole plates. They just lay right on the sheathing, the roof sheathing.
Used to come over this way a little bit.
Okay. How's that?
No, there it is. That's the place.
Okay. Let me get a nail in mine.
Okay, so this is
This
the
is
ridge,
The ridge.
and I'll hold it in place for you.
Let me get a tack up here.
And then
I've
is
got
the
this.
middle rafter the one for the
Yep. That's the common that goes right up against it.
common rafter?
Okay. You get
And
you
they
can
put
hold
it
those.
exactly where it goes. How's that?
That's beautiful. Nice.
All right. And here's the right side.
This goes this way. This is. There we go. That should go right in there. Nice.
Yep. All right, and these are the hip rafters.
Yep. Oh,
Pretty nice fit.
very nice.
If you get those, I'll get the bottom.
Okay.
All right, now these are technically rafters. What kind of rafters are they?
Going from the hip to the plate's a jack rafter.
A jack rafter. All right, well, the geometry is in place. It's basically
Yeah.
a pyramid from this side.
Yeah. It's,
Nicely cut together. You ready for some sheathing?
Yep, sure am.
And this falls shy of the top because
Right.
it's a 4-foot sheet of plywood. That's as far as it go. Okay, 2 sides, and this completes the pyramid. Good fit?
Beautiful.
All right. Good. We're going to break for some messages. When we come back, we'll take a look at that cellar concrete pour. Stick with me. Okay, we're back down in the basement, and in real time, we've had, what, about 6 hours go by, Mike?
Right.
So you've had a long lunch.
Placing to finishing now, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of work involved in getting to this point. And now your son, Mike, is doing kind of final steel trowel work here. What does
That's right.
this achieve?
This makes it denser and a harder finish and smoother finish.
The steel trowel will actually let you have a glossier, kind of tighter finish, right?
That's right, that's right. And we'll do this a couple of times. We'll
Yeah.
come back again after this here.
Okay, how long should we wait? How many days before we can come back down here and have men doing other work down here?
I'd give it 1 day.
Just 1 day?
1 day curing, yeah.
Great. Well, thanks. You guys have done a wonderful, wonderful job. We're running out of time. Come home again next time when we'll be done with all these structural repairs. We'll be putting up some of the new partitions, wooden studs and metal ones. Also, a tour of the Longfellow House, one of Cambridge's most beautiful historic homes. Till then, I'm Bob Vila. It's good to have you home again.